say, we'll go on there. If you want to hear your voice on YouTube tonight, go ahead and give a shout. Or a laugh. Yeah, you give a laugh. That'll come out there too. You make sure you give it a view, give it a like, make me feel popular. This is what we're doing today. We're doing division. I want to know if that divided by 2x plus 5 is that. When you do the division, the divisor is going to go on the right-hand side. So we'll put 2x plus 5 over there. When I say divisor, I'm talking about the bottom number. You have a numerator and a denominator. Hopefully you know the difference between those. Now, when we did this first problem, the answers actually go this way. Like I added 5 and 15. I'm sorry, 5 and 10 to get 15. 25 plus 2 to get 27. And then 5. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the numerator around the outside. 2x to the third will go first. These two cells will add up to 15x squared. These two cells will add up to 27x. And we should end up with a 5. Now 2x to the third, that's that cell right there. That's going to go there. So it also goes two places basically. You know, it's the first term is that first cell. There's nothing going to combine there. How do I know what goes up here? Well, what goes up here times 2x equals 2x to the third, right? So we're going to divide, right? And so it's going to be 2x to the third divided by 2x, which is x squared. And as we do our division, we're always going to divide by this term, the first term in the divisor. And then I want you to fill in the column. So x squared times 5 is 5x squared. Sometimes your columns are going to be longer. Just go right down the column, finish that column up. Now we go to the top of the next column, and I have to know what goes here. Do you know what goes there? Nope. Say it again. Not 5x. 10x squared. Because these two cells add up to 15. So this is going to be 10x squared. And now I have to know what goes up here. I go back and do my division. 10x squared divided by 2x. And so 5x is my next term. And then fill in your column. What goes down here? 25x. 5x times 5. What goes up here? 2x, because these two have to add up to 27. And then I do 2x divided by 2x, which is 1. 1 times 5 is 5. And if there's no remainder, these numbers will match up and be the same. For today, because we're just learning how to divide, there will be no remainder. Those numbers will be the same. Do not let anyone, and this happened last year where some teachers were helping out, start here and work backwards. Okay, don't start in the bottom, because those numbers don't have to be the same. And if any teacher tells you that, you smack them and say, Mr. Conley said, no, that's not the way to do this. We're going to start here in the top left-hand corner every time. Now, this is important stuff. So important, I made a little box for you and put some words in it. Right here. And this is the box you really need to dig if you're going to be successful at division. How big of a box do you make, right? Because we're going to start with the box and then do the division. You have to know how many rows and how many columns. So the number of rows is 1 more than the degree of the divisor. Now that's a little vocabulary test here. Where's the divisor? On the bottom. So if I'm doing this division problem right here, x minus 2 is the divisor. What's the degree of this term? Uh-oh. The degree is the highest exponent. There's a 1 there. So the degree is 1. So the number of rows is 1 plus 1, which is 2. Okay, the number of rows is the degree of the divisor plus 1. That's good stuff. You want to know that. The number of columns is 1 more than the difference between the degree of the numerator and the degree of the denominator. In this problem, what's the degree of the numerator? 2. The highest exponent. Numerator's on top. What's the degree of the denominator? 1. So the columns are 2 minus 1 plus 1, which is 2. And you're going to need to set up a 2 by 2, which is what is set up here. But that's the only time they're going to set it up for you. You need to be able to do this. Okay, so we have x minus 2 on the right-hand side. That's our divisor. 2x squared is this cell. These two cells add up to x, and we hope the last one is negative 10, but we're not going to put negative 10 there because it doesn't have to be. And now I need the answer. So I always divide by this term here, and I take 2x squared and I divide by x. That's 2x. And then we finish up the row. So this would be negative 4x. 2x times negative 2. What goes up here? Very good. 5x, because these two terms have to add up to 1. And 5 minus 4 is 1. Now you do 5x divided by x. That's 5. Put 5 there. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Yay, those numbers are the same. That's a good thing today. For the rest of your life, not necessarily so. Now, our answer is what? 2x plus 5. Please make sure you write that somewhere. That's why we did this, to get an answer. Don't just leave your work up there. I'm not smart enough to look at that and know what the answer is. You have to write it down for me so that I know. Can you dig it? So yes. Thank you. Okay. Number 4, I want you to set it up for me. How many rows, how many columns? Help your partner out. I think your partner's a little confused here. And if your partner's no help, let me help both of you.
Three rows.
Right. Yep.
You're right, 3.
Why?
Because 4 minus 2 is 3 plus 1.
Oh, we'll get there. Just set up your 3 by 3. Maybe you're off to a good start. Okay, so by now you should have figured out it's a 3 by 3. Do you have any group that needs help understanding why it's a 3 by 3? Okay, so the divisor goes down the right-hand side. Well, this is x squared plus 1, but there's 3 terms here. So you need a placeholder, x squared, 0x, and 1. Okay, so there's a gap there, isn't there? It went from x squared down to the constant. That's why we need 3. And that's going to go there. Now, the answer, the numerator, goes around the outside. So x to the 4th, and that's going to be your first cell as well. Then this diagonal here is 4x to the 3rd. The long diagonal here is 3x squared. This diagonal would be 4x, and hopefully we're going to end up with a 2 at the end. if you don't set your box up properly, it ain't going to fit. And if it ain't going to fit, you're going to understand you got to go back and change your box, right? So if you don't understand the rows and columns thing, you will eventually. That's the only way it's going to work. So now we take x to the fourth and divide by x squared, and that's x squared. That's our first term of our answer. And now go right down that column. Fill in those cells. X squared times 0x, well that's 0. I like to put the term with it, 0x to the third. It's not necessary. 0 is 0. But I just like the order. It's the math guy in me. I like to have that order as I go down through. And this one is x squared. And now we got to figure out what goes in the top of the next column. How do you know it's 4? Because those two have to add up to 4x to the third, don't they? So you're going to have 4x to the third here. And now you do your division. 4x to the third divided by x squared is 4x. And that's the second term of my answer. And now fill in your column. This is 0, and again, I like to put x squared there just to know that my placeholder is there. And this is 4x. And you're going to see these patterns are always consistent, that the exponents are going down by 1. The diagonals are always common like terms. It's all pretty cool when you get done. Now we got to figure out what goes here. These 3 terms add up to 3. Well, we got a 1 and a 0, so this must be 2. And now we do our division. 2x squared divided by x squared is 2. That's going to be the last term of my answer. This is 0. This is 2. Hey, those numbers are the same. Isn't that exciting? No remainder, so we have our answer. Somewhere you're going to neatly put your answer on there for me. That divided by that is x squared plus 4x plus 2. Any questions in the audience today? You can dig it? It's good stuff? All right. What? Talk to her, please. Tell her to behave herself. Thank you. We had another question there, didn't we? You think you need my help, or you think you can handle it? Good luck. Alex, how you doing? I got a lot of thumbs up. Couple faces looking at me like speaking a different language. I know it. I just said that.
That's what we get to walk.
You know you're being recorded right now. Sometimes I don't even turn that. I just say that. Gets rid of her. You need help? What's up? You're upset. You're crooked. It's your rows and your columns are backwards. Columns go up and down. No, you got 4 rows. You have 3 columns. There you go. Yeah. I don't remember the answer. Looks like you did it right to me. No, you've got it set up wrong. Your rows and your columns are backwards. You have 3 columns and 4 rows in your picture.
Okay.
This is right. You want 3 rows, 4 columns. Columns go up and down. The nice thing is, if you don't set it up right, you're going to know it. A couple of people have their rows and columns backwards, and you get stuck, you know? So then you know you need to fix it. You did it backwards. You got rows and columns where your columns and rows should be. Columns go up and down, rows go across. Finish your column before you go on to the next one. How you doing over here? Okay. Remember to fill in your column before you move on to the next one. So that's my step right there. That's my first step, is to fill in the first column. I think this should be a 6 here. I don't know if that'll change anything else or not. You okay? Okay, so this answer here, this is this divided by that, like you have here. 3 divided by 1 is 3, and then you subtract the exponent. So it should be 3x to the third. And now that changes everything, because now when you do 3 times 4, you're going to get 12 here. Okay, now this should have been a negative 2. Right, we're copying this work down here, that should be negative. So that makes that negative, because those two add up to negative 2, which is going to make, now you do negative 2x to the 4th divided by x squared, which is negative 2x squared. Divide your coefficients, subtract your exponents. And so that's going to be negative 2x squared on top. That looks good to me, I think. I haven't done it yet, but I think that's right. Hi. Okay, we got to figure out what goes here. Now, this answer isn't quite right because you're dividing by x squared all the time. So you're always going to divide by this. And that divided by x squared is going to be a negative 6x. Now this is this diagonal here. These 3 have to add up to negative 4 right here. Okay, so, right. Yes. Okay, so I got 3x to the third minus 2x squared minus 6x plus 4. Hopefully you got that as well. Let's move on to number 6. How many rows? How many columns? Yeah, they take a while. How many rows? 2. How many columns? 5. 2 rows, 5 columns. Does everyone know what a row and a column is by now? Okay, so your divisor is going to go on the right-hand side. That's going to be x and negative 1. Your answer is going to go around here. So it's going to be x to the 5th, which of course is the first cell. Then you're going to have 0x to the 4th, 0x to the 3rd, 0x squared, 0x, and negative 1. But you do need all those placeholders there, and it does fit into your puzzle then. So number of rows and number of columns matter, placeholders matter. And what would end up happening is you'd get x to the 4th here. That's going to be a negative x to the 4th. So you'll need a positive x to the 4th. That's going to be x to the 3rd. And it's going to go so on and so on. Running out of time, so I don't want to finish this one. I want to move on. But you may stop me and ask if you want about this question. Yes, sir. Yes. Watch it. YouTube. No Conley, YouTube. What we doing here, you'll see it on there. And then you get your homework done. Oops, I missed one, didn't I? Number 7, how many rows? 2. How many columns? And this is going to be just like the last one. You're going to have a lot of placeholders there, 0x to the 5th and so on, to fill that in. Let's look at the homework. In fact, I bet we can get the first one done, can't we? Let's do the first one. How many rows?
2.
How many columns?
3.
2 rows, 3 columns. Does everyone know what a row and a column is? You have about 4 minutes left in class. If you're not sure what's going on, now is an excellent time to ask. You should know how many rows, how many columns, how to fill in the columns, how to do the division, and get the answer. You might want to write that down. as you do this, if you forgot your step, you might want to write it down when it comes to you. Take good notes for yourself. I tried to give you enough paper in these books that you can write notes and use it tonight. I don't know what the answer is. You agree with him. That's a good sign. He's pretty smart. I don't know the answer. If you have the answer, you can help me out. Cole has it up here. I want to know if he got it right. Anybody else done yet? Cole, we have x squared plus 2x minus 5 up here. Okay, so we agree here, so that's a good sign. It's a good question. I think so. Yes. Not the challenge, not number 6. Call not number 6 on lesson 4 at the homework.